I've got a viewer that's going to share his story with us tonight. He's going to remain anonymous for reasons I don't blame him because in this field I've learned that it can be pretty tough. So I'm going to go ahead and let him have the floor and start, and we'll see where it goes.
You ready then?
I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay. Well, thanks for doing this, Mike. This is something that's been bugging me for at least 45 years. Uh, a few of the strange things that have happened to me back when I was, I don't know, 12 or 13, and I didn't understand what was going on at the time. This stuff happened on my grandparents' home farm and around that area within a couple miles from there, but locations northwest of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, about a 2-hour drive from there. We used to hang out quite a bit on the farm back along the river, fishing and camping and stuff like that. And my buddy down the road, we hang out quite a bit and spend a lot of time back there. And one day we decided to make a cabin along the river and be a little more comfortable than the tent. We built a cabin 2-story high, and one day we were walking back along the river carrying material back for building, and my hearing just went blank. It just seemed like I stepped inside of a dome or something, and I wasn't even going to say anything to Buddy. I didn't figure what's the odds that his hearing would be gone, but I said to him, "Is your hearing gone?" And he said, "Oh yeah, it is." And then I said, "Well, that's kind of strange." Didn't know what that was about, but we carried on anyways, and a few other funny things were going on back there. Let's see what I got stuff wrote down here so I remember. But just a second here.
Oh, you're fine. That had to be scary.
Yeah, I got getting a little mixed up here. I got stuff wrote down so we can forget it all. Well, one night we spent a lot of time sleeping back there, and we'd have a campfire and doing some crazy stuff, burning, made up like our own fireworks and that, and the flames would be going like 30 feet in the air and stuff. So, but anyways, my cousin asked if he'd spend the night with us, and he asked his dad if it'd be okay and to stay back there with us, and his dad said it'd be okay, but he'll be back first thing in the morning to get him after he does the chores, which was fine. So we were about starting to wake up, and all of a sudden there was a big smack on our outside wall on the metal sheeting we had on, and this would have probably been 8 or 9 feet up and off the ground where we heard the smack, and we didn't know what was going on, and we're kind of whispering, and then started getting a little worried about it, and it got quiet after the smack, and then maybe a couple minutes later, my cousin's dad called his name out, and the clown, let's go or whatever, and I said, ask your dad if that was him that hit the building, and just didn't say anything, just trying to spook us, and so the next, couple of days later, I said, I seen him, I said, was that your dad that scaring us? And he goes, no, he said he just come back, and he called us, and he said he didn't see nobody, never noticed nobody else back there. So that was kind of funny. Another day I was hunting the start of deer season, just on the neighbor's property, and I was sitting up on a hilltop in front of a tree, and I actually had the high-powered rifle, my dad's 30-30 that morning, and I was sitting there waiting for a deer to come through, and I sat there, I don't know, for whatever, an hour or whatever it was, and then I started hearing a noise coming through the thick brush, like a lot of just smaller trees, but they were really thick, and I could hear something coming towards me, and I figured, oh, it must be a big buck. It sounds pretty heavy, so I was sitting there watching, and and I could hear it getting closer, and then I started seeing a dark shadow coming towards me through the thick brush, and then it just stopped, and it wouldn't go any further. And I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, well, it looks way too big to be a deer. And I couldn't tell what it was. It was just a dark mass sitting there. I started getting a bad feeling, so I got out of there and went back home. I'm not sure how long ago after I was hunting in the same area where it was real thick brush, but I was walking up along the creek, and which wasn't too thick there. But once I got up farther, it turned really thick, and I was pheasant hunting at the time, and I could hear something walking towards me in that thick brush, and I could hear footsteps walking towards me. And I was looking around, and I even got down lower to the ground, looking through the trees, and I still couldn't see who it was. I figured maybe it was Buddy's older brother or something walking towards me. And I happened to spot a pheasant, so I figured, well, once I shoot, it's gonna get out of there, whoever it is. Be worried about getting shot. So I took the shot and got the pheasant, and I picked it up and I listened, and the footsteps are still coming towards me. I figured, well, that guy can't be right in his head or something. I wouldn't be sticking around if somebody took a shot. But it kept coming towards me, so I get out of there. Just up the road on another day of deer season, I was up in a tree and for quite a while, and nothing was going on, so I decided to cross through a dried up swamp with a lot of tall grass and like goldenrods and stuff. I was going to cross over to a tree line, and I got part way across, and I felt like I was being hit with like pebbles or something that was hitting me. So I kind of stopped, wondering what was going on. I got thinking, well, maybe it was bees and that stuff I had, and they're just trying to push me back. So I started getting a bad feeling about that, so I turned around and got out of there. Not until later on I got thinking after what I had seen that it was either bees or it was a Bigfoot maybe throwing stuff at me just to get me out of the area too. There was another day too, Buddy and I were in the back of his dad's truck, and we were just gravel running, I guess, and I think a couple of my cousins were in the back too, and he had a big German Shepherd in the back, and he come to a quick stop, and he jumps out of the truck, and he said, "What the heck was that?" And he walked back to us, and he said, "Did you guys see that?" And we said, "No, we're looking at the back as we were going down the road." And he said, "It looked like an orangutan or something." Just crossed the road, come up along the tree line, and it was right down on the low of the ground, like on his belly or whatever, crossing the road, and went into the bush. And we never seen it, but he drops the tailgate and told the dog to get out and walked the dog over to where it went in, and the dog sniffed around a bit and walked back and got back in the back of the truck, and he was calling the dog, get out here, and the dog wouldn't listen to him. He walks back, and he calling the dog, and the dog just laid down. I think it was shaking too, and it just laid down and wouldn't get out. And he said, "I've never seen it act like that before. This was a pretty cross dog. It was well known in the area how cross it was too, and for fighting other dogs and stuff, and wasn't scared of anything that I know of." So yeah, that was pretty strange. Let's see.
Does Canada try to hide Bigfoot as much as like the United States does, or are they more open to it?
Yeah, they do. If you go an hour and a half to 2 hours north of me, there's sightings up around Bancroft and that. I think I think it's Timmins. There was actually a story in the newspaper about it. I think it was Timmins up around that way, and so supposedly there's somebody had seen a dog man in around Owen Sound, which is maybe an hour and a half from me. I've never seen nothing like that. Hopefully I won't see something like that. I still go hunting, bull hunting and that, and I walk back in the dark and stuff, but sometimes I'll listen to one of your stories and I go back hunting in the dark and I end up spooking myself.
Right.
I thought I seen something standing there, and so I put my light on and it was just a tree. So, yeah, I've never heard of any, just Buddy and I that had seen that. Well, we didn't realize it was a Bigfoot at the time, but well, another time we were back along the hilltop. This, like, I think they call it a glacier. It's just a big hill, and they've been taking it out with a loader and crushing it into gravel. And you could drive a vehicle up along the top. Like 40 years ago, it's starting to grow up. And I was back there a couple weeks ago and took a walk back through the first time in like over 30 years since I've been there. And the trees are growing up along the top now. There was actually one shoved over for no reason, so I don't know if that's a sign that he's still around or not. But I was actually back there today, and I put some marbles in a sandwich bag and hung it on the tree, and actually a little mirror marbles, and I'll go back in a couple weeks to see if they're still there or not. But about 5 years ago, I did put a half a jar of peanut butter up in a tree and give it a good knock with a rock, but went back 3 weeks later and it was still there, so I'm kind of wondering if they've moved on.
Right.
This same area too, Buddy and I were sitting on top of the hill just talking one day, and a stick landed in between us, just maybe like 9 inches long, kind of shaped like the letter Y or whatever, and he goes, "Where did that come from?" I saw it just fell out of the tree, probably. He goes, "No," he said, "it come up and landed in between us." And I didn't really see that. He started getting into a panic, and he got on the bike, and I got on behind him, and he was just flying out of there. And I told him to slow down. You're going to kill us the way he was driving, but. I told him a few times, and once he got far enough away, he started slowing down, but he was pretty spooked. Another time, too, as the sun was going down, he was looking up on the hilltop, and he started getting into a panic. He goes, "You see that?" And I was looking where he was pointing, but I thought it was just the opening where the trees were separated along the hilltop where he was pointing to. I didn't really see it, but he got into a panic there, too, and he couldn't get out of there fast enough. Maybe a couple years later, well, we got a little older then, but we were sitting at a corner one time on the dirt bikes just talking and trying to decide what to do. And we looked across, he looked across the field and he said, "What is that over there?" And I looked where he's pointing at. I said, "Oh, it's just a cow." He goes, "No, it's too big to be a cow." So I took a closer look, and it was I could see it was on its hands and knees crawling around like it was maybe looking for food or something. And it was a Bigfoot at that time, and it must have been 5 feet tall, just on its hands and knees looking around. And we were looking at it for a little bit, and we thought we'd better get out of there before it looked back at us. We figured it's a wonder it didn't sense that we were looking at it, but we went over there maybe 2 or 3 weeks later. We went over to that area and we looked around for footprints and stuff, but the ground was so hard, we never seen anything.
Right.
But another time too, we're just messing around on the bikes, and there's an old train car along the side of the road. The farmer is using it for storage and that, and we were looking inside, and then we decided to climb on top of it. And we were looking around, and I looked out the backside, and there was a lot farther down. There was a big drop there. It was the car was actually sitting on a ledge. They had taken gravel out of there, and I don't know, maybe a 20-foot drop, and all these big rocks down below. And I walked over and told Buddy, "Come on over here. Look how far down this is." And as I walked back, I ended up getting too close to the edge, and I started falling. And I was leaning out past the point where I know I couldn't get back again. And And next thing I knew, it was back upright. So I figured, oh, he must have grabbed me by the back of my pants and pulled me back. And I said, holy cow, I was close. I would have got killed if I was still down there. And I said, did you pull me back? And he said, no. And I said, yeah, whatever. There's no way I would have got back or you wouldn't have pulled me. He goes, no, I didn't pull you back. So I don't know what that was about, either my guardian angel or maybe a cult Bigfoot. But then again, I didn't really feel anything push me back, but I went back upright again. But I don't know what that was about either. I think about, I ended up moving into town when I was in my early 20s, and maybe 15 years after all this was going on, I come out late one night, like around midnight, to burn some copper wire off back in front of the gravel hill. And nobody would even see what I was doing then back there, and burned it off. And I was burning, and a few minutes after I started hearing footprints coming towards me through the thick brush, and I just said to myself, oh, it's just a cow, some nosy cow coming towards me to see what I'm doing. But yet I could tell it was footprints. It was 2 feet coming towards me. It wasn't, I knew it wasn't a cow, but I just told myself that so I could get done what I needed to do. And so I was trying to rush things along, and I finally was able to start chilling in the back of the truck. And I actually had the girlfriend with me at the time, but I didn't want to tell her what was going on, or she'd want me to get out of there before I was done. And so I started loading it up, and I could hear the footprints. It seemed like it was trying to sneak up on me. The steps were slower, but every step it took, it was breaking branches and stuff. And it seemed like it was trying to sneak up on me, but it couldn't. So just when I was finishing up, I picked a rock up and I threw it in the direction of the sound, and I was hoping I wouldn't have one come back. I mean, I never, but as soon as I got done, I jumped in the truck, and as I backed up, I purposely didn't put the lights on that area. I didn't want to see what it was. I figured it'd probably have nightmares the rest of my life. And the girlfriend at the time, she would have lost it too if I would have seen that. So.
It kind of feels like they're kind of like curious, and they kind of stalk you, don't it?
Yeah, well, I got thinking later on that we would have been at the entertainment back at the cabin too. We're making our own fireworks and stuff, and probably waited for us to go to bed, and then start snooping around for leftover like scraps and that. Yeah, right by the cabin too. They had dug a fresh pond out. And we were standing there one night talking, just not far from the cabin, and something, there was a splash in the water, and then another one. I said, buddy, the fish are jumping, and he said, can't be fish in there. They just dug it. I don't know, it was like 1 or 2 weeks old, and then it happened again, and we got the heck out of there. Something was messing with us. We didn't know what was going on at that time, but it probably was the Bigfoot throwing the rocks in just to mess with us.
They're bad about throwing rocks, and I've noticed, when we go fishing, it seems like when the kids are the loudest and we're like doing the loudest things, it seems like that's when it's worse. And when we're quiet, it's like it's not that bad.
We didn't realize at the time what was going on, and Buddy doesn't even like talking about it. Say we're not far from there. My cousin, she's a game warden, and we were back in the bush. My brother putting his ashes back there, and we're walking out. And I said to her, have you seen the big guy back here? And she says to me, who's the big guy? I said, a Bigfoot. And she gave me a funny look, but I figured, well, she probably didn't know, but she sure didn't let on anyways. But she knew what I was talking about. And so I think she called it a skinwalker or something. He goes, you mean a skinwalker? And I said, well, not really. That gravel pit went up through the home farm too, and my aunt was saying that when she was a little girl, she used to find arrowheads back there along the gravel hill. So Well, supposedly too, when they took the gravel out, they found a native body in there. And whether they're taking the gravel away, whether it's true or what, I imagine it's true. I can't see them making something like that up. But,
Right.
and years ago, well, my dad he used to go for a drive in the middle of the night too. He couldn't sleep, and one night he come back in, and about 2 a.m. or whatever, my brother was up, and he says to him, "Geez, you look like you seen a ghost." He was white, and he goes, "I think I just did." He said he was driving along, and this is up in the area where it was belly crawling across the road or whatever, and he said he seen a lady going along the side of the road, and he was going to give her a ride, and he started slowing down. She passed in front of him, and she was dressed like a pilgrim lady with the dress and the bonnet or whatever on, and as she passed, he said it was only he didn't see her legs. It was just like from the waist up, and she went into that gravel pit area where the hill would have been. That was there years ago. That's a little freaky too. So
Yeah, that kind of stuff. That really scares me. I'm more afraid of that stuff than I am the actual cryptids.
Yeah. I was just looking at what I have wrote down here. I think that's about it.
You know, it's Canada's a beautiful looking country. I watch a lot of videos up in Canada. There's a guy that I particularly watch. His name is the Bearded Woodsman. I don't know if you've heard of him, but
no.
He's on YouTube, and he does like survival hunting and stuff up in Canada. And there's been a few times he's actually had some scares up in there also.
Yeah. It's not real crazy thick where we are in this area too. That's why I'm wondering if I moved on to a different area, but I don't know. So I don't know if that was the same one that we seen a few years later that his dad was saying that was like crawling on his stomach to cross the road to make it look smaller, I guess. But it makes you wonder why he wouldn't wait a little bit longer. It would have heard us coming up the road instead of passing in front of us like that. But maybe it was a juvenile too, then didn't know any better.
Yeah, sometimes it makes you wonder if they don't do it sometimes to maybe to scare us and let us see them.
Yeah.
I think sometimes they.
My wife doesn't really believe in that, the Bigfoot stuff. My granddaughter, she believes, but it's hard to find people to believe you, so. What's that?
I've seen it, and I went from a believer to a knower, and a lot of times when you see that stuff, it's like, I even told people before when I was at my granny's and I seen it. It made me want to cry.
Yeah. Back when I was, I don't know, maybe like 11 or 12, we were coming home late one night in the same area, and I looked up. There was a guy that had a solar house, and he's the only one around for like in that area. This was like 40 years ago, and he had a solar house, and I looked above it, and I thought it was a helicopter sitting above the house, and another one just off to the side of it, and it was around it. It was a flying saucer is what it was, with the lights flashing all around it. So I told I rolled the window down on the car, and I had my head out listening. I said, "There's no sound to it," and I had my mom stop the car, and my dad actually had a .22 rifle underneath the front seat, and I said, "I'm going to take a shot at that." And my mom said, "Oh no, don't be doing that." So we all seen it, and I mentioned my brother years ago about seeing that, and he doesn't like to talk about that either. So
yeah, that would
sometimes
be scary.
So like those people will see like a Bigfoot where there's a UFO or whatever. I think they're just curious, like the rest of us. They see something, wonder what's going on. So. Well, yeah, I think that's about all I have anyway.
Yeah, I think Canada would be a good place to look. Anyways, it's you know, the videos I look at, there's y'all have a lot of beautiful forests and stuff, and definitely enough room for something to hide up there for sure.
Yeah, there is a thicker area up around where my aunt and uncle live. It's a little thicker up that way. Well, a lot more, I think, pine and stuff maybe too. But I think it seems like maybe they fall along that hilltop too. So it goes for miles and miles, just twists and turns, and a lot of it's been taken out. But when I was up in there today, there's still maybe a quarter. I don't know, it might be. Yeah, there's probably still a quarter mile of that gravel hill still sitting there. So
I've always wondered if maybe gravel has something, because where we go, is really rocky, and it seems like that's where they're at. But
yeah,
I know they do like to throw sticks and twigs and pebbles, and they've even done that to my kids when we've been fishing.
yeah, we never really looked for the footprints, or, but we never heard like wood knocks or nothing like that, or never heard any vocals. Um, it just seems like it was messing with us, I guess.
I think they like to do that a lot sometimes, maybe to try to scare us or warn us away or chase us away, or I'm not sure.
Um, right where Belly crawled across the road, there's a great big house in there now, and I'd be curious if I ever see the guy, ask him if any strange stuff goes on. Because I'm sure if it's still there, they'll be looking through its back windows at night. It's for entertainment, eh? So, because he's right along the bush there, and that gravel hill's just in, I don't know, maybe quarter mile in from where his house is. So,
Wow, that is amazing. Well, I
oh
want to.
yeah, I can think of another time too. We spent the night back at that gravel hill. We had a bunch of adults with us, and we had a campfire and stuff. And the next morning, my cousin says somebody was walking around the tent last night. She heard somebody walking, and they lifted the outside flap up and looked down at her, and she said he had a beard or whatever, he had a hair on his face, anyways, and she was going to wake her brother up, but he was drunk, and if you wake him up when he's drunk, he gets pretty violent. He would have been flipping out, so she didn't say anything till the next morning about it. So I don't wonder if that was the big guy just snooping around too. Then she said he had a beard or hair on his face. I forget what she said, hair on his face, anyway. So
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm sure glad that you called and shared your story with me. I enjoy hearing those.
yeah, I'm glad to get it off my chest. It's been a long time. So.
Yeah, I'm so glad you shared it with me, and thank you so much for calling.
Yeah, I've been a prescriber for, well, I was using my wife's phone for, I don't know how long you've been doing this for, what, 2 years or more than that?
Yeah, about 2 years.
Yeah, I haven't run across, and I've been listening to you ever since, but I was using my wife's phone. I just got my own whatever you call it on the phone where I can have it in my name, but it was in her name, and she didn't like me saying something on Facebook or whatever. She goes, "Oh, I think it was me that said it or whatever." Eh? So just the start of the year, she got my own, so I can listen to you on hers, and then I with mine. So, but I know you sound so sincere in that too, so I wanted to tell the story to you, and I do listen to other channels too, but I think you're maybe a little more sincere than the rest of the fellas. So.
Well, I sure appreciate you talking to me. We sure appreciate you having, a part of our family and watching our
Yeah.
videos. And hopefully someday
Oh
we'll.
yeah, I never. Yeah, I always I don't miss them. So I was living down in Memphis, Tennessee for 3 months. So I went to school with some of the guys from Alabama, just all over the world, from Paris, France, and everywhere. And a lot of young guys were the father owned sawmills and stuff, so they put them through school for 3 months, and that. I met a bunch of guys from down around there. My best friend's actually from West Virginia, Riley West Virginia, I hung around with him quite a bit. So, and they had some stories and that up around that area too. So.
All right. Well,